Hey everybody, my name is Marco Nunez and this is Landon Buford. Welcome to week 3 of the waiver wire selection. We're going to touch upon all the injuries that happened on Sunday NFL football, along with Thursday's injuries, who you should look for, who's going to be expected to be out for a longer period of times, who should you bench, who should maybe perhaps put an IR, who should you drop, or more importantly, who should you pick up to try to replace those injuries or those players that have issues or injuries coming up for week 4. I'm sorry, for week 3 type of thing. So be ready. We're going to start off the bat. We're going to start with quarterback. So Landon, like you mentioned, this weekend unfortunately was not good for quarterbacks. We had at least 5 or 6 quarterbacks that had issues, and we'll start with the first one, the second-year quarterback out of Miami. That's, from my understanding, sustaining a rib cage contusion. Now, I think my understanding, what I heard is that the X-rays were negative, so that's a good thing. So he did not sustain a fracture, but even then, a contusion to the ribs can be very, very uncomfortable or very painful. And what that means is that when you bruise the ribs, you bruise the muscle in the area, and anytime you take a deep breath, you will experience some discomfort. You will experience some pain. And in the quarterback position, having to throw and rotating, that would also give you some discomfort. So we'll see what they do. They'll probably do a couple of treatments. But what are your thoughts on
that? Yeah, I didn't watch the game. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Okay.
But Tua, from what I was saying, or what people have been saying, prior to Deshaun's issues, Miami was heavily trying to push to go get Deshaun Watson. Obviously, with him being on the commissioner's exempt list due to issues off the field, that's put a damper on things. And from what I hear, they want 4 draft picks, 4 number 1 draft picks, players, and something else, kind of like what Philadelphia wants for Ben Simmons. So, for right now, if they were looking to trade Tua right now, that's not going to be the issue. I mean, the best option right now, since he'll be out for. Well, you think he'll miss any time?
Depending on where the contusion is and how severe the contusion, I think he might miss at least 1 week. Now, what's going to determine is whether he plays or not on Sunday is see how he does by Thursday or Friday. If he's able to go out there and move, and if the reports show that he's actually throwing well, then he should be ready to go. My only concern is that if he does play and they pad up the area, if he takes you happen to start him as your quarterback, and if he takes a hard hit sometime in the first quarter to that area, there's a very likelihood chance that he'll be out for the rest of the game. So you're kind of wasting a slot for your quarterback. So you're taking a pretty high risk on that area, because it's not going to resolve itself within a week. It's going to linger on for at least 2-3 weeks. So he's going to have a little discomfort. So the question is, if that is your starting quarterback, do you even bother to take the risk of starting him? Because if he takes a hit, he may be out. So do you just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to bench him. Even though they say he's going to start, you bench him and you put somebody else. I would most likely be comfortable with that scenario. Don't even play him whatsoever, even if they do say he's going to play, because he's not going to be very mobile. He's definitely not going to be probably going to be throwing a deep route. So if you have Devonta Parker as one of your receivers, he's going to take a ding. Now, on the other hand, if you have the rookie, Waddle, at the slot, most likely he's going to have to throw some short routes, or they're going to have to focus on the running game. So if you have Gaskin top of the day, but either way, he's going to be high risk, even if he's available and you're going to play him. So personally, I would just stay away from it.
I wouldn't play him. So I would go, if he's available, I would get Matt Ryan, I would get Teddy Bridgewater, and I would get Sam Darnold. Those are my choices for backup quarterbacks this week. Oh, and Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is another one to go get if he is available.
And I agree with you 100% on this part. Out of all those players, I would rank Teddy Bridgewater as the number 1 to go waiver wire selection for QBs. If he's available, go grab him. He's had 2 weeks, and he's had 2 great weeks so far. I mean, he's been up in the 20s type of thing. So he's a must-add for you if you need a quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater is your number 1 pick there. Now, going along with quarterbacks, the next one we're going to talk about is Tyrod Taylor. You had touched upon Deshaun Watson type of thing. They discussed Deshaun Watson. I heard a rumor about Deshaun Watson. Will they try to force it and kind of bring him back now that Tyrod Taylor is injured? My understanding that Tyrod Taylor sustained a hamstring strain to the muscle. They haven't identified what's the first, second, or third degree strain. But either way, even if it's the first degree strain, you're looking at him being out anywhere between 7 to 14 days. So the odds of him playing this upcoming weekend are very minimal. Again, assuming it's a minor one. you expect him to probably the following week, not until week 4, if it doesn't linger. If not, there's a very likelihood that he may be out for at least 2 to 4 weeks. So the question is, and you already touched upon it, do you think Deshaun Watson will even, will the Houston Rockets, will the NFL League even make an attempt to try to get him back?
From what they were talking about earlier this year, they said no. They even offered him, I think, $10 million to $10 million to even to not play this season. Wow. So I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I don't know who their backup quarterback is after, on their depth chart after Tyron, but if they don't have one, they might bring somebody in, or they might, have someone play off the practice squad. I see that. But me personally, I don't see Deshaun Watson playing because of his legal issues. And they've already tried to keep him off of the field because they want to trade him once his legal problems are cleared up.
And it's interesting because they do have him on the 53-man roster. So they kept him on the 53-man roster. So the question is, do you risk a waiver wire selection on Deshaun Watson and just dash him just in case? Do you think, what's the risk reward for that?
I mean, you can, but like I said, for me personally, if I was playing this year, I wouldn't do it because you're wasting a spot for somebody that might come back or might not come back.
Correct. And I agree with you. If for some reason you have a player that you can kind of release, so to speak, from your bench, or you happen to have an empty spot in your bench, maybe then go ahead and pick up Deshaun Watson just in case. But I would not drop any other player, any high-profile player or mid-player or even backup player for Deshaun Watson. I think that's too much of a risk for you, maybe losing somebody on that part. Okay, moving on to quarterbacks. Next one, Carson Wentz. My understanding, he sustained a ankle sprain. They haven't identified whether it's a first, second, or third degree ankle sprain, but I know he did not return to the game, so to speak, and he was upset on the sidelines because of that. Now, an ankle sprain isn't that bad, especially for a quarterback, because you're not mobile, you're not moving a lot, so they can actually go ahead and tape him pretty sturdy, pretty hard, and almost give him some, tape job that kind of resembles a little bit of a cast, so you can kind of be able to be able to be out there, so to speak, and play. But the question is the first, second, or third degree? Obviously, if it's a third degree, it's going to take a little bit longer to heal. If it's first degree, there's a very likelihood that he'll be able to play this upcoming weekend. So let's just keep an eye and see what the reports are going to say. I know he's scheduled for an MRI.
Eason would be the most likely backup. Sorry, I'm getting messages as I'm talking. Eason, it would be the backup, I think, most likely for the Colts out of Washington, and I think he also went to Georgia as well, if I'm not mistaken. He was a transfer back to the University of Washington. I should know this because I interviewed him a couple months ago, so I should know I should know this. But I think I know for sure he went to the University of Washington. He's got a decent arm, but I mean, obviously, you want Carson Wentz in there if he can play. So. If that's the case. Like I said, if you're looking to pick up a quarterback, if he's not already stashed, Teddy Bridgewater is not there, then obviously Matt Ryan is somebody that I would take a look at. I know obviously the Falcons don't have the firepower they used to have with Julio Jones there, but they do have Ridley still there, who's a emerging wide receiver, I think. And also Sam Darnold is also a piece, and maybe even Matt, the quarterback from the Patriots, who had a good, decent job last week. I would look, if he's available, I would go pick him up as well, because I know that there's 5 quarterbacks that are dealing with injuries right now. I think 5 or 6.
Correct. And speaking of quarterbacks, even more, we continue on past Carson Wentz. The next one is Andy Dalton. I know he sustained a knee injury. They haven't identified what it is. I know he's scheduled for an MRI most likely today, and they'll probably announce what kind of issues or what injury he sustained in the knee for the upcoming week.
Well, we know who they're going to replace him with. They're going to replace him with Justin Fields. So if he's available, If
Correct.
you didn't pick him up, go get him as well. So Justin Field is definitely going to be the backup, and he will be playing for Chicago if Dalton can't go this week.
Correct. And he's a rookie draft pick, so I'm sure they were just waiting to find a perfect time to kind of make the transition over and kind of slot him in. So this might be the time. So we'll see how he performs. Okay. So moving on now to let's talk about receivers. We have one specifically that we talked about that had sustained, actually two of them. We talked about Jarvis Landry. That was a little bit of a scare. I think the Cleveland Browns were concerned that he might have an ACL tear, and I think that was kind of the first reaction to it. But I think from some of the reports coming out of their camp is that it looks like it's more of an MCL sprain versus an ACL, which is a good positive sign. Obviously, they have to wait for an MRI to kind of confirm that. And what the difference between the MCL and the ACL is that the knee is comprised of four main ligaments, two inside with the kind of crisscross, and then two on the medial and the lateral side, kind of pretty much on the outside and the inside, the outside of your knee. The MCL ligament, referring to the medial collateral ligament, is the one that's located on the inside of your knee, and that's the one that kind of helps and prevents your knee kind of from buckling in, so to speak. Now, this injury is very common with running backs and also with linemen, because when they get hit on the outside of their knee is forced inward as an angle, and you pull or you strain or you kind of stretch that ligament, so to speak. But having said that, even for receivers and running backs, because you do a lot of pivoting and cutting, that is a very important ligament that can be very uncomfortable. Now, again, like very similar to ankle sprains and hamstring and muscular strains, MCL ligaments are categorized into three sections or 3 degrees: first, second, or third degree. So now it's just a matter of waiting and seeing whether it's a first, second, or third degree. If it's a first degree, which is a mild MCL sprain, we're looking at about 2 to 4 week process. So he's still going to be out for at least 2 weeks. So you may want to go grab another receiver. The question is, I know Odell Beckham hasn't played in the last 2 weeks. Does this mean that Odell Beckham has to step up and play in week 3 now because they're going to be short in receivers down there? Your thoughts on OBJ coming back?
We're talking Browns, right? We're talking Browns. So Rashad Higgins, I think, would be a good option for the Browns specifically if he's available. Odell Beckham, I have not looked at his injury status this pre-week 2, right? I'm assuming that he's getting better. But I mean, well, for me, I don't want to say anything on him if I haven't looked at his, his update. So I'm not even gonna mention that. But Higgins would be a good slide in. But also Baker Mayfield's banged up too, right? So I mean, so if Baker can play, I mean, Higgins would be a good, slide in for them. Obviously Cordell Patterson is
with the Atlanta Falcons
that you could put in at the wide receiver position down there in Atlanta and a running back. So you can get points, depending on how your leagues are, structured. You can get points for him being a running back and a wide receiver. I know obviously in the flex that helps, but he could slide him in as a wide receiver or running back. That would be a good piece to pick up as well. Cordell Patterson. That's my number one pickup at the wide receiver and running back position because of his ability, his dual ability.
And I agree with Cordell Patterson. He had a great game. Obviously, Davis down with the Atlanta Falcons hasn't done well in the last 2 weeks, so to speak. So they're looking for somebody else. The receivers, I know Kevin really did a pretty decent job this year. So if you started him, you got some points from him. But they're looking for somebody to step up down in the Atlanta Falcons. And I agree with you as far as Cordell Patterson. Like you mentioned, the benefit about Cordell Patterson is that he is identified as a receiver running back. So you can use him in any of those slots. And they will use him as a running back and receiver, so to speak, on that part. So as far as the Cleveland Browns, is it maybe this week as far as just staying away from any Cleveland Brown player besides maybe Nick Chubb or the running backs? Now, even if Odell Beckham does come back this weekend in week 3, I suspect he's going to be on a rep count. I don't think they're going to release him. I think they're going to slowly kind of ease up into him. So even if you do have him, if you start to be warned that he may only get anywhere between 10 to 15 reps. So he may not have the full capacity out there. And like you mentioned, Landon, that Baker Mayfield is also hurt, their quarterback. So that's going to kind of hinder some of the receiving course points or value, which I think they're just going to kind of focus more on the running game. So maybe a Nick Chubb opportunity here. Now, the other receiver also we're going to talk about it is Deontay Johnson with the Pittsburgh Steelers. My understanding, he sustained the same kind of injury as Jarvis Landry, as an MCL sprain. Again, the question is whether it's a first, second, or third degree sprain. So that's something that we have to kind of look into and wait on. Again, if it's a mild first degree sprain, we're looking about 2 to 4 weeks. But if it's a third degree, which is a little bit longer, then we're looking more at anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks for him being out. So that's going to be on the part. So if you have Juju Smith-Schuster, he's going to probably be a key role player now. He's going to have to step up. The next one is Claypool, that he's going to have to also kind of step up on the part, trying to kind of get some of the reception. So if you don't have Claypool's available in your league, make sure you can grab him, especially if you have Deontay Johnson. You can bring in Claypool as a backup receiver, but I think I go back again to what Landon mentioned. Cordell Patterson, I think, is going to be considered our pickup of this week, and I agree with Landon. He's a utility player. You can put him at the running back, wide receiver slot, so make sure you grab Cordell Patterson.
Speaking of Juju, he's got something to prove. He's on a 1-year deal. So obviously he's on a 1-year deal. Remember, there was more money on the table. He passed to come back to the Steelers. When everybody saw that, I think the Ravens gave him a better deal. I think the Ravens gave him a multi-year deal. I don't know the number, what it was, but because I know they were looking for wide receiver, and he said no, he'd rather come back to the Steelers on a 1-year deal. So, and that was after he said that he wouldn't return to the Steelers. So, if Juju is available, or you on the wire on Juju, I would go get him. I would play him this week. He's obviously got something to prove. He's on a 1-year deal. He's playing for that next contract. So, when you're motivated and you're playing for that next contract, you typically see people with having good seasons, trying to get that money, or Dennis Schroeder in the NBA. Betting on yourself might not always be the best thing. So shout out to Dennis. I hope he has a good season in Boston this year. But getting back to football, Dennis Smith-Schuster has Juju has something to prove.
Correct. Yeah, so if you have him, definitely play him this upcoming weekend. If not, add Claypool, or go ahead and add Claypool to your roster and also play him. The other one also that has to get a couple of reps, if you're looking for a tight end, maybe perhaps Eric Ebram. They're tied in with the Pittsburgh Steelers because, like I said, Ben has to throw somebody, and it's either going to be Juju this year, Claypool, or Eric Ebram. Moving on, we're going to talk about running backs, and we're going to talk about what the San Francisco 49ers are dealing with running back issues. From my understanding, I think all running backs, they're having issues with all running backs. Raheem Mostert's, like everybody knows, Raheem Mostert's officially out for the rest of the year. He decided to have a meniscus repair versus just a meniscectomy. That's going to take him out for the rest of the year. So there's no chance he's going to be returning. He's done for the year. Now, the running backs that kind of took over, Elijah Mitchell was their number one running back that kind of carried the load this past weekend, but he himself sustained an injury. Trey Sermon, the rookie running back, also sustained an injury. And JaMycal Hasty, the veteran running back, also sustaining injury. So we'll start with Elijah Mitchell. My understanding is that he sustained a shoulder. They categorized his shoulder injury, and later they mentioned it was more of a stinger. He was able to come back and return, and he got a couple of reps, but he didn't seem himself on that part. So we have to keep an eye on how that develops. The one thing about the stinger is an injury or an issue to the nerve. So that can linger on for some time, and everybody's slightly different. There are the traditional stingers where you just kind of shake it off, pump your hand, and it kind of comes back, but it can be a little bit of a problem. This is very similar to what happened with during the finals to Chris Paul. With the Phoenix Suns, he sustained a stinger that kind of lingered on a couple of times, and even then, like I mentioned, even like we talked about, who was it that we talked about? That may be able to come with 12 that may be able to come back, that even if Elijah plays this upcoming weekend, if he gets a hard hit to that shoulder, it can re-aggravate it, and then he may be out for the rest of the game. So that's a little bit of a risk. The next one up in line is Trey Sermon, but he is he was diagnosed with a concussion, so he's under the NFL concussion protocol. So the likelihood of him playing this upcoming weekend are very, very small. And then the next one up in line is JaMycal Hasty with an ankle sprain. Again, they haven't categorized what kind of ankle sprain. It's the first, second, third degree, so we just have to wait.
I thought they said that it might have been a grade 1, but that wasn't official. I thought they said it might have been a grade 1, but it wasn't official. It wasn't official as of when they when they did the original report.
Okay. So if it is a grade 1 or first degree sprain, that we're looking anywhere between 5 to 14 days. So there's a very likelihood that he can't play this upcoming weekend. They're just going to tape him. The training staff will tape him and be able to go. So it looks like Elijah Mitchell and JaMychal Hasty are going to kind of maybe have to share some workload. The question here is, one, do you play either of these guys? Because what's going to happen is that there's a very likelihood that they can aggravate this injury. For example, JaMychal Hasty can go out there, pivot, turn, someone can step on him, and it can be out in the first quarter and you lost. Same thing with Elijah Mitchell. He can go out there, if someone can hit him in the shoulder, he can re-aggravate that stinger, and then he's out. This is very similar to the quarterback with Miami, like I mentioned. Even if he plays this weekend, one incident, one hit, one wrong turn, one pivot, anything of that sort, they can aggravate it and they're out for the rest of the game. It can happen in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. So you're taking a little bit of a risk. Just understand that for any of these three guys.
So as far as running backs, I don't know what the San Francisco 49ers are going to do. They're going to probably have to, bring somebody up from the practice squad or sign them off, sign them off this week. Obviously, we know across the NFL tomorrow, everybody's off, right? That's just typical NFL stuff. Tuesdays is everybody's days off league wide. So you have Michelle if he's not in your lineup, you should go get from the Rams. They traded for him earlier this season. I know that it's tricky depending on Belichick running backs, but I think what's his name, James. He's always consistent on a consistent basis. If you put him in, he's available. I think in numerous free agency pools. I would go get him. The Patriots running back James. I forget sorry for his first name.
James White.
James White. Yes, James White is somebody I would go pick up. And Sidney Michelle, if he's available, I would go get him because I know that Henderson for the Rams, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is injured with some type of he's banged up with some type of injury. So I would go pick him up if that's possible.
Yep. And talking about Henderson, we're going to segue right into him. So Darrell Henderson is the other running back with issues. He also sustained a rib contusion. Now, the rib contusion, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to go ahead and do an X-ray to make sure there's no fracture. A rib contusion can be very nagging, can be very uncomfortable, and you could easily and quickly re-aggravate it if you take a hard hit, even if you sustain a lot of padding. Now, the downside to this is I'm not sure whether it's right or left side. So it's hard to pad a running back, and you cannot put too much. You have to be very careful with how much padding you put in the area to protect it, because as a running back, they need to protect the ball and they got to keep the ball there. And oftentimes running backs like to feel the ball a little bit both in their arms, their forearms, and a little bit into their body. And there's a lot of padding there. It's going to be very difficult for them to do that. So as a running back, you're going to get hit on the side no matter what at the first, second, or third carry. So like Landon mentioned, grab Sonny Mitchell if he's available, because they're going to need a new running back. I think Cam Akers is still out, I think, down below with the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. So Sonny Mitchell and the Rams are going to probably have to go get another running back or bring somebody from the practice squad to kind of sustain them. But to Landon's point, again, from the beginning, I think our official pickup of the week, it's going to probably be Cordell Patterson, just like Landon Buford mentioned, because you could put him at the wide receiver slot or you could put him at the running back slot, either one of the two. So if he's available, which I think, from my understanding, he's available in majority of leagues, no matter where you're at, I'd be very surprised.
He won't be available after this week. If he's in the what's it called, he won't be available after this week.
Correct. So if you're the number 1 or number 2 pick in your waiver wire selection, make sure you grab him on that part. Other than that, I think the last one we're going to talk about is Dalvin Cook. He also stayed in mild ankle sprain, but the good thing about him is that he was able to return and he was able to play. So we just got to keep an eye on him. If you do have Dalvin Cook as one of your running backs, and then you do not have Alexander Madison, make sure you grab him just as a backup, just in case. Or if he's available in your league, which I'll be very surprised if he is, but I know in some leagues he's still available, grab Alexander Madison just in case Dalvin Cook's not able to play this weekend. But from everything,
the Seahawks are hoping that Dalvin Cook does not play this week because they played them on the road. So they're hoping that Dalvin Cook doesn't play this week. But I think he'll play.
I agree.
Basically watch Thursday walkthroughs. Wednesday is, they'll start giving you updates because obviously tomorrow they're off. So Wednesday, Thursday, if they said he practiced, most likely he'll play on Sunday.
Correct. And the key component from what I remember when I was in the NFL is Thursday is going to be the key day that you want to look for. So like Landon mentioned, tomorrow everybody's going to have off. Most likely Wednesday they'll give him a day off. They'll just do treatments. He might do some conditioning on the side or something like that. But Thursday is going to be the key day that he's going to get out in the field and practice with the team. You'll have Friday off, maybe some light cardio, some just key plays. Yep. Obviously Saturday completely off and then play Sunday. So Thursday is going to be the day that's going to determine whether he's available to play or he's going to test it out on Thursday. So make sure you keep an eye on your listen up on the reports on what's happening on Thursday. All right. Other than that, that's all we have for you guys. I think we went through the whole list. Again, thank you guys for watching our podcast, Waiver Wire Selection. My name is Marco Nunez. I'm a performance athletic trainer. This is Landon Buford, and a journalist. You guys can follow me on Instagram at Marco A. Nunez 17. If you guys have questions.
Your audio went out.
Ooh. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me go ahead and repeat that. Like I mentioned, thank you for watching the Waiver Wire Selection. We do this on a weekly basis. Like I said, my name is Marco Nunez. I'm a performance athletic trainer. So I have a little bit more in-depth as far as some of the injuries, what's going on in the league. If you guys have any questions regarding any of your pickups, any of your players, or you have questions on who should be able to select even as the week goes by, feel free to DM me or follow me on Instagram at Marco A. Nunez 17. And then Landon?
Landon. I'm Landon. Right now I'm a freelance entertainment journalist, but and sports guru, I guess you could say. You can find me at Landon Buford. That's LANDON BUFORD on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, guys. Thank you for watching the show. Hope to see you guys next week on every Tuesday. We're going to release this every morning and Tuesday morning and all Tuesday, so you can hopefully help you guys with your tips and ideas for who you're going to select for Tuesday night, and make sure you put in your waiver wire. So again, just to kind of recap one last time, our pick of the week, like Landon mentioned, it will be Cordell Patterson. Go ahead and grab him. Thank you, guys.